Imagine your car gets towed, which is, an incredibly annoying experience.
Yeah, totally. The worst.
Right. But it happens. It's just standard municipal plumbing, basically. You go down to the city impound lot the next morning, and you're expecting to pay your fine, get your keys from a police officer sitting behind a glass window.
Right, the usual routine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now, imagine you show up, and the person behind that glass, they aren't a cop. They're actually a civilian contractor, and they work for some out-of-state private equity firm.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it gets worse. Because their proprietary software suffered like a 24-hour data glitch, they casually tell you that they already auctioned off your vehicle.
You're kidding. Just gone.
Just gone. And at that nightmare scenario,
Yeah.
I mean, it is not hypothetical at all. It is the exact battle that is currently tearing apart the city of Toledo over what honestly should have been a mundane administrative check-the-box kind of contract.
Yeah, and, we usually think of privatization as this abstract political talking point, but Toledo's is providing this real-time masterclass in how these massive corporate acquisitions actually hit the pavement.
Totally.
I mean, it escalates so fast from, how do we park these cars more efficiently to who is legally responsible when a deployed soldier in Afghanistan has their car illegally sold by a private contractor.
Which is exactly the core mission of our deep dive today. We are sorting through this incredibly fascinating stack of sources from this ongoing Toledo drama.
And it's a huge stack.
Oh, it really is.
Yeah.
We've got fiery transcripts from a city council meeting, internal corporate memos, and this bizarrely strategic campaign of letters from local residents and business owners who are fighting this contract.
Right.
So just to make sense of it all for you, the listener, you really only need to track 4 main players here. First, there's the Toledo Police Department, or TPD. They are the ones trying to unload the management of their impound lot. Second, there's VMS, which stands for Vehicle Management Solutions. They're this private equity-backed company swooping in trying to secure the contract. Third, you have the Toledo City Council, the elected officials who are basically trapped in the crossfire.
Yeah, they're stuck in the middle.
Exactly. And fourth, there's this private individual named Jeffrey Roberts.
And I just have to say, the Jeffrey Roberts documents are easily the most compelling part of this entire stack.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he presents himself as just a concerned citizen, right? But the level of granular detail he possesses regarding, municipal finance and police operating procedures.
And the interdepartmental software.
Yes. It suggests he is almost certainly a pseudonymous city employee. He possesses deep inside knowledge, and he just uses it to systematically dismantle this VMS pitch.
He practically acts as a whistleblowing mastermind throughout this whole thing.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's unpack this. Before we get into Roberts' resistance campaign, we really have to look at what VMS and the Toledo Police Department are actually trying to do here.
Right. What's the baseline pitch?
Exactly. So, TPD currently uses 7 sworn police officers and 1 sergeant to run this tow lot. And the police chief's pitch is, hey, by handing the lot over to VMS, we can put those highly trained officers back on the street answering 911 calls.
And, I mean, from an operational standpoint, having sworn police officers doing inventory on, 2012 Honda Civics is just a terrible allocation of resources.
Yeah, it makes sense on paper.
It does. So VMS comes in, and they offer to take over the day-to-day logistics for $2.47 million a year, which breaks down to about $183,000 a month.
Okay.
And their big hook is that they will use a quote-unquote national online auction platform to sell these unclaimed cars to a wider audience. The idea is this drives up the final sale prices and theoretically funnels more revenue back into Toledo's general fund.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate for a second here, because outsourcing non-essential services, that's a pretty standard playbook for local governments, right?
Oh yeah, happens all the time.
You pay a fee, you eliminate the logistical headache of running a giant parking lot, and supposedly the corporate sector brings in all these efficiencies. So why is the city council hesitating?
Well, right out of the gate, the procedural red flags are just massive. Toledo didn't even put this multi-million-dollar contract out for competitive bid.
Wait, really? They just skipped the bidding?
They requested a waiver. The city claimed that VMS is uniquely qualified.
Okay, but uniquely qualified how? Because this is just a tow lot.
And that is exactly where the logic starts to break down. Because the city's primary argument is that VMS provides this proprietary management software called Artura Aries.
Right, but I read the invoice of the sources, and the city of Toledo is actually already paying just over $15,000 a month to use that exact same Artura software right now.
Exactly.
It's like hiring an expensive financial consulting firm to find efficiencies in your household budget, and their primary recommendation is just charging you thousands of dollars a month to use the budgeting app you already installed on your own phone.
That is a perfect analogy.
I mean, why waive a competitive bidding process to hire the creators of a software you already licensed to run the physical lot? It makes no sense.
Well, you have to look at the underlying mechanics of who actually owns VMS to understand the strategy here. VMS is backed by Mill Point Capital, which is a private equity firm.
Okay. Private equity.
Right. And the entire private equity roll-up model in the municipal space revolves around acquiring smaller regional operators, centralizing their data systems, and maximizing the turnover of assets. Their mandate is not, public service or community stability.
Right. It's about the bottom line.
It is entirely about generating aggressive returns for their investors. And this is exactly where Robert steps into the narrative. He specifically attacks the financial illusion that this arrangement somehow benefits the taxpayer.
Yeah, he really brings out the calculator and totally guts the financial premise.
Yeah.
He points out that the TPD-run lot currently transfers a $2 million surplus to the city's general fund every year, like it already operates in the black.
Which is huge for a city budget.
Exactly. So Roberts points out that if VMS charges $2.47 million in new management fees, they basically have to generate roughly $4.5 million in brand new, previously non-existent revenue just for the city to break even.
And the whole argument that the city is saving money by removing those 7 officers and 1 sergeant from the lot, Robert, shows that's just a sleight of hand.
Because they aren't firing those cops.
Exactly. Those officers aren't being removed from the payroll. They're just being reassigned to patrol. So the city continues to pay their salaries, their pensions, their benefits.
Wow. Okay.
So Toledo is essentially adding a $2.47 million vendor fee on top of their existing police payroll, while simultaneously gambling a guaranteed $2 million surplus on, the promise of better auction algorithms.
But wait, if VMS is promising to use these massive commercial databases to process the vehicles faster, doesn't that speed up the revenue cycle? Because they specifically touted using LexisNexis to run background checks on the drivers before releasing the cars.
They did, yeah.
And LexisNexis is a massive, highly sophisticated data broker. Banks trust them to approve mortgages. So why is Roberts so terrified of them checking driver's licenses at a tow lot?
Well, think about it. A bank evaluating a 30-year mortgage, they don't really care if the data is 24 hours old. But law enforcement operations require absolute real-time accuracy.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right now, TPD uses LEDs and Norris. Those are direct live nodes connected to state and federal criminal justice databases. But LexisNexis relies on batch processing.
So they just get data dumps at the end of the day.
Exactly. Court clerks might upload their daily disposition files at, say, 5 p.m., and then the commercial aggregator processes them overnight, so that creates a data lag.
Oh, I see where this is going. So if someone gets their license suspended for DUI on a Friday night bet,
The commercial database might not reflect that suspension by Saturday morning when that exact same person walks into the impound lot to get their car back. Right, so a sworn police officer using LEDs sees the live suspension and just refuses to hand over the keys. But an unsworn VMS civilian employee relying on a lagged commercial database sees a quote-unquote valid license and hands the keys to a suspended driver.
And if that driver pulls out of the lot and hits a pedestrian?
Then we enter the realm of municipal liability for negligent release. The victim's family isn't going to just sue VMS, they will absolutely sue the city of Toledo.
Right, because it was their lot.
Exactly. A municipality can outsource the labor all they want, but they absolutely cannot outsource the legal liability of a governmental function.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because if VMS is willing to accept a commercial data lag just to process cars faster, it really makes you wonder where else this private equity model has cut corners in the past. Did Roberts dig into their historical track record?
Oh, he dug deep. And he uncovered this massive discrepancy between what VMS claimed publicly and what their legal history actually shows. Yeah. During the Toledo City Council meeting, VMS executives literally stood at the podium and proudly claimed they were, quote, partnering with the Department of Justice to improve how they check military records before auctioning off cars.
I saw that in the transcript, and let me tell you, That is some world-class corporate spin.
It really is.
Because Roberts reveals this so-called partnership is actually a federal consent decree that resulted from a massive lawsuit. Down in San Antonio, VMS's predecessor company illegally auctioned off at least 227 vehicles belonging to active-duty military personnel,
Which is just appalling.
completely bypassing the Service Members Civil Relief Act, which, requires specific court orders before you can sell a deployed soldier's property.
Right.
In one specific instance, an Air Force staff sergeant was deployed in Afghanistan literally fighting in a war zone,
Yeah.
and she came home to find this contractor had just auctioned off her car.
And that's why the Department of Justice sued the city of San Antonio over the actions of the specific contractor. And you have to notice the pattern of rebranding here, too.
Oh, right. They used to have a different name.
Yeah, VMS used to operate as United Road Vehicle Management Solutions, or URVMS. Because when private equity firms operating in the municipal space generate too much toxic legal history, they frequently rebrand to shed those negative associations when they're bidding for new city contracts.
I mean, it just takes incredible audacity to get sued by the federal government for illegally selling a deployed soldier's car and then travel to Toledo and pitch that court-mandated oversight as a DOJ partnership.
It's wild.
And San Antonio wasn't an isolated incident either. Roberts also highlights a federal class action lawsuit out of Chicago involving the unconstitutional taking of vehicles.
Right. In Chicago, they were operating under the name United Road Towing. And the company allegedly sold citizens' cars for scrap value without providing constitutionally adequate notice.
Which is a huge deal.
Massive. Due process requires that a citizen is given ample, legally documented warning before the state seizes and liquidates their property.
But the VMS reps at the council meeting tried to wave that away, didn't they? They claimed their software takes rigorous photos of the cars, inside and out, so everything is documented to protect the citizen.
They did say that, but a photograph of a dashboard does not fulfill a citizen's constitutional right to due process.
Right. Taking a picture doesn't mean you notify them.
Exactly. Documenting the condition of the asset means absolutely nothing if the contractor intentionally accelerates or just bypasses the legal notification process to increase their auction turnover and boost their quarterly profit margins.
And this is where Roberts really shifts from just being this analytical whistleblower to operating as a full-blown political strategist.
Oh, he completely changes tactics.
Right. He realizes that, math and out-of-state lawsuits might not be enough to sway a city council that's just desperate to get cops back on the street. So he builds a coalition.
He recruits his own team.
Yeah. He recruits this group of smaller, local Toledo business owners who stand to be decimated if VMS takes over. And he just unleashes them on the council. And first up is Pam Rose, the local auctioneer.
Yeah, and Pam Rose submits this fiercely protective defense of her local economic footprint. Remember, VMS's core financial pitch relies entirely on their national online auction platform.
Right, their big selling point.
Exactly. But Pam Rose just shatters the illusion that this is some proprietary technological leap. She points out she has a 38-year career, holds licensing from the Ohio Auctioneers Commission, and she actually already utilizes national online bidding platforms to sell Toledo's impounded cars to buyers in places like California.
So she's essentially saying, I already do exactly what they do, but the money stays here.
Exactly.
She pays local taxes in Lucas County. The profits don't get siphoned off to an out-of-state private equity fund. And then Roberts brings in U-Pol, which is the local salvage yard. They handle the junk cars, the burned-out shells that aren't even worth auctioning.
Right, the stuff nobody else wants.
Yeah. And U-Pol currently has a contract guaranteeing the city a $595 floor for every single junk car, which recently generated over $1 million in salvage revenue for Toledo.
And, the financial floor is important, obviously, but the community impact is the real pressure point here.
How so?
Because U-Pol employs local residents. But more importantly, they logged 43,000 local admissions recently, where Toledo residents came into the yard and spent an average of just $35 to pull cheap salvaged parts.
Wow. Okay, so if VMS takes over, their corporate model dictates shipping those scrap cars out of town to larger regional processing hubs just to maximize their margins.
Right.
So they extract the cars from local streets, but they dismantle the local economic ecosystem built around recycling them. That directly hurts lower-income locals in Toledo who really rely on that specific scrapyard to keep their own vehicles running so they can get to work.
It perfectly illustrates the hidden cost of privatization. The raw asset in this case, the car, is leveraged for corporate profit, while the secondary economic benefits are just stripped away from the local community.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. The final member of this local Avenger coalition is Shannon Cameron, the owner of Toledo Lock and Key. And he brings up this massive, terrifying safety issue that nobody on the council even seemed aware of: the unopened trunk.
Oh, this part is wild.
Right, because when police tow an abandoned car or seize a vehicle during a raid, they rarely have the keys. The glove box is locked. The trunk is locked.
And Cameron's locksmiths have been contracted for 25 years to physically bypass these locks at the impound lot so the cars can be inventoried or auctioned.
Right.
But the critical detail is that when a local locksmith pops that trunk, a sworn Toledo police officer is standing shoulder to shoulder with them. Because impounded trunks routinely contain unsecured firearms, hidden compartments of fentanyl, or weapons used in violent crimes.
And I was looking through the source documents, and I found something completely stunning about Cameron's involvement.
Yeah.
There is a document labeled, quote, draft letter, end quote. And it is almost a word-for-word match for the official letter Shannon Cameron submitted to the council.
Oh.
Yeah. The metadata and context strongly suggest the draft was actually written by Jeffrey Roberts.
Yeah.
So Roberts is so heavily invested in blocking VMS that he is literally ghostwriting the opposition letters for the local business owners to ensure their arguments hit the exact legal pressure points perfectly.
Well, Roberts understands that to defeat a sophisticated private equity pitch, you have to present a multi-front war. And the legal pressure point he highlights with the locksmith is the concept of chain of custody.
Right, which is huge in court.
It's the bedrock of any criminal prosecution. Evidence must be handled by authorized, sworn personnel from the moment of seizure to the moment it enters a courtroom.
So if a private, unsworn civilian employee from VMS pops a trunk without a cop present and discovers a loaded handgun, the chain of custody is instantly contaminated.
Exactly. The civilian doesn't have the legal authority to secure the weapon. They don't have access to LEDs to run the serial number to see if it is tied to a homicide.
Right.
The second a defense attorney discovers a private equity worker was the primary handler of an evidence vehicle, they will immediately file a motion to suppress. The judge will throw the evidence out, and major criminal convictions could collapse simply because the city wanted to save money on parking lot attendants.
I mean, the Toledo City Council is just completely boxed in. You read the transcripts and you can see the panic setting in for council members like McPherson, Martinez, Jones, and Kramer. They have the police chief demanding efficiency, and they have this Roberts coalition laying out an apocalyptic scenario of constitutional liability and local job destruction.
It's a nightmare for them.
Councilwoman McPherson specifically starts grilling them on the fact that the municipal labor union agreements haven't even been resolved.
Yeah, the labor issue is a massive operational trap because operations at the impound lot are heavily integrated into the collective bargaining agreements of the Toledo Police Patrolmen's Association and AFSCME.
He can't just ignore the unions.
No, a city cannot unilaterally slice out a public sector operation, hand it to a non-union corporate entity, and just expect the unions to quietly accept the loss of unit work.
They will file immediate grievances, right, just tying the city up in labor arbitration for years.
Exactly.
But the sources reveal a second trap that might actually be worse.
Yeah.
Toledo holds regional intergovernmental contracts, meaning they agreed to store evidence vehicles for neighboring townships and smaller municipalities in the region.
And those neighboring towns signed legal contracts with the Toledo Police Department under the strict legal presumption that sworn law enforcement would safeguard their evidence.
So if Toledo takes a homicide vehicle belonging to a neighboring police department and just hands it over to civilian employees working for an out-of-state corporation,
they are in immediate breach of contract. Toledo cannot force an outside township to accept the liability of a private vendor they never voted to hire.
wow, so the lawsuits would just pile up.
Oh, absolutely. If a VMS employee compromises an evidence vehicle belonging to a neighboring town, that town's prosecutor loses their case, and that town will immediately sue the city of Toledo for breach of contract and negligence.
So what does this all mean? Why should you, listening to this right now, care about a seemingly hyper-local zoning fight over a tow lot in Toledo, Ohio?
That's a great question.
You should care, because this exact same playbook is being executed in municipalities across the entire country, Whether a city is looking at parking meters, toll roads, water treatment facilities, or tow lots, local governments are just under immense pressure to save a quick buck by outsourcing their core functions to private equity.
Yeah, and the initial promise is always identical, right? Greater efficiency, reduced headaches, and increased revenue through superior corporate technology. But the reality, which is meticulously documented by whistleblowers like Roberts, is entirely different. The true cost of that quote-unquote efficiency is often higher fees for the citizens, predatory administrative practices, the extraction of local economic wealth, and a massive transfer of legal and constitutional risk directly back onto the taxpayer.
Yeah, when a local business like U-Pull is cut out of the ecosystem, the community loses access to cheap auto parts and reliable local jobs. When a 38-year local auctioneer is replaced, the profits just leave the state. And when a city trades the sworn accountability of its police force for the profit margins of a management firm, the everyday citizens are the ones left holding the bag.
Which really leaves us with a critical question to consider, and it's one that extends far beyond the fences of the Toledo impound lot.
What's that?
If a city continues to slice off its operational duties piece by piece, outsourcing the towing, the auctions, the evidence handling, the data management, and hands them all over to out-of-state corporations governed strictly by shareholder returns, at what point does a city cease to be a government accountable to its people and simply become a franchise managed by a private equity firm?
Wow. That completely reframes how you look at local government. You start off thinking you're just reading a boring administrative checklist for a parking lot, and you end up holding the wire cutters over the very concept of civic accountability. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.